The meeting room of the Galactic Council was enormous. Beings from 100 different worlds sat in floating chairs that circled the center stage. Today they were meeting the newest species to join the galaxy, humans from the Terran realm. Ambassador Hyun walked to the center. He was short compared to most aliens in the room. His skin was smooth without scales or fur. He wore a simple black suit and smiled constantly. Behind him, 3 other humans carried boxes. "Greetings, honored council," Hyun said with a small bow. "We bring gifts from Earth to share our culture." The boxes opened. Music played from small devices. Paintings showed landscapes and families. One screen displayed something called a romantic comedy, where humans laughed and fell in love. Another showed cartoon animals singing songs. In the back row, Supreme Commander Volthix of the Valtrix Empire watched with cold eyes. His scales were dark red and his species had conquered 40 worlds. He leaned toward his second officer, Grethix. "Look at them," Volthix whispered. "No claws, no fangs, no armor on their skin." Grethix nodded. "Our intelligence reports say they keep small animals in their homes as pets. They celebrate something called birthdays, where they eat sweet food and give gifts." "Weak," Volthix said. "Soft creatures playing at being civilized." After the presentation, the council session ended. The Valtrix delegation gathered in their private ship to review more intelligence on humans. "Show me their military," Volthix commanded. Screens lit up with images of human warships. They looked simple, almost boring. Grethix pulled up footage of a recent incident where human Captain Minho had encountered space pirates near the outer belt. In the video, Captain Minho's face appeared on screen. He looked young with kind eyes. "Attention, pirate vessels. You are surrounded. We ask that you power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted to the nearest station. No one needs to die today." The pirates had laughed at him, but Minho had been patient. He waited 3 hours talking calmly until the pirates finally surrendered without a single shot fired. Volthix slammed his fist on the table. He apologized. After winning, he apologized for the inconvenience. The Supreme Commander's laugh was harsh. "These mammals are not warriors. They are farmers pretending to have teeth." Another officer pulled up human entertainment. "Sir, 90% of their popular shows are about friendship, love, or cooking. They have entire channels dedicated to filming their pet animals doing nothing." "What about their history?" Grethix asked. An intelligence analyst younger than the others pulled up files. "Sir, their records mention something called world wars and weapons called nuclear bombs that destroyed entire cities." "But impossible," Volthix interrupted. "Look at them. These soft creatures could never survive such horror. The records must be fake, designed to scare potential enemies." The analyst wanted to argue, but stayed quiet. Volthix stood tall. "I have decided. The Valtrix Empire will expand into the Terran realm. We have 10 fleets to their 3. We have battle experience from centuries of conquest. They have work-life balance and feelings." The War Council voted. It was unanimous. The Terran realm would be conquered within 6 months. Far away on Luna Base, Admiral Yuna sat in her office when the message arrived. She read the Valtrix ultimatum twice, then walked slowly to the emergency council chamber. President Junho read the message aloud to the assembled leaders. "They demand our surrender in 72 hours. The room was silent. General Daehyun, an old man with gray hair, finally spoke. "They think we're prey. They've seen our shows, our culture, our kindness," said Counselor Suji. "They don't understand the difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war." Admiral Yuna looked tired. "Should we show them our full military capabilities? Send them historical records?" "They won't believe it," Junho said quietly. "They see what they want to see. Soft creatures who keep pets and celebrate holidays." "Then we respond with diplomacy," Suji said. One final warning, the message was sent. Diplomat Suji appeared via hologram before the Valtrix fleet, which now waited at the edge of Terran space. She looked small and gentle. Her voice was soft. "Commander Volthix, we received your ultimatum. We must ask you to reconsider. We have no desire for conflict. Please understand, we have experience with war. We know its terrible cost. You do not want this path. Please turn back while you still can." She bowed respectfully and the transmission ended. On the Valtrix flagship, Volthix laughed. "She begs. She actually begs us not to attack." He looked at his officers. "Prepare the fleet. We advance in 12 hours. This will be the easiest conquest in Valtrix history. Grethix felt uneasy but said nothing. Back on Luna Base, Admiral Yuna began issuing quiet orders. Weapons were checked. Soldiers kissed their families goodbye. Defense platforms powered up across all colonies. General Daehyun stood at the window looking at Earth below. "We tried," he said softly. "We gave them every chance." "Yes," Yuna replied. "Now we prepare for what comes next." She pressed a button. Across all of Terran space, military bases received the same message. Condition red. This is not a drill. Prepare defensive positions. Rules of engagement. Standard mercy protocols apply until further notice. The Valtrix didn't know it yet, but they had just made the worst mistake in their empire's history. The mistake wasn't attacking humanity. The mistake was thinking humanity's kindness meant weakness. The 72 hours passed slowly. On Earth, people went about their lives, but everyone felt the tension. Parents held their children closer. News channels showed the Valtrix fleet gathering at the border, dark ships against the stars. In the Terran Defense Command Center, Admiral Yuna stood before a massive screen showing the enemy positions. 200 Valtrix warships hung in space like a swarm of metal insects. Her own fleet had only 20 ships in that sector. "They really think this will be easy," said Captain Minho, who had been called back from patrol duty. He stood beside her, looking at the numbers. "Can you blame them?" Yuna asked. "We showed them art and music. We told them about our festivals. We didn't parade our weapons or show off our power. Because that's not who we are," Minho said. "No," Yuna agreed. "But now they'll learn who we can become." President Junho appeared on a smaller screen. His face looked older than it had a week ago. "The Council has voted. We send one final message. After that, if they attack, we defend ourselves with full authorization." Diplomat Suji prepared for her transmission. She sat in a simple chair, wearing traditional Korean clothing. She looked small and peaceful. When the transmission went live to the Valtrix fleet, she spoke in that same gentle voice. "Commander Volthix, this is my final plea. We are not what you think we are. Yes, we love peace. Yes, we celebrate life and keep pets and make art. But these things did not make us weak. They made us strong enough to choose peace over war." She paused, her eyes sad. "We have walked through fire to reach the stars. Our history is written in blood we spent thousands of years learning to stop spilling. Please hear me, we do not want to hurt you. But we will defend ourselves. Turn back now while you can still call this a mistake instead of a tragedy." The transmission ended with her bowing deeply. On the Valtrix flagship, officers watched the message in silence. Then Volthix laughed, breaking the tension. "She speaks of blood and fire, but I see only a frightened creature trying to sound dangerous. Look at her. She bows to us like a servant." "Sir," the young intelligence analyst spoke up nervously. "I've been studying their public networks. They have broadcasts from Earth showing something called news. The humans are not panicking. Their stock markets are stable. Children still go to school. It's as if they don't take us seriously," Grethix finished. "No," the analyst said, "as if they've done this before." Volthix waved his hand dismissively. "Enough, we've wasted enough time on talk. All ships prepare to advance. Target their outer colonies first. Show them we are serious." The Valtrix fleet moved forward, crossing into Terran space. Alarms sounded across every human station and ship. On the colony world of Nova Sol, Administrator Hana received the alert. She calmly activated the emergency protocols she had practiced 100 times but never thought she would use. "Attention all residents," she announced over the speakers. "This is not a drill. Evacuation sequence begins now. Everyone move to your assigned shuttle. Stay calm. Follow the guides." Families gathered their important belongings. Children clutched toys. But there was no screaming, no chaos. Every human had basic emergency training. They had learned it in school, practiced it yearly. They moved quickly but orderly to the evacuation points. Hana watched them go, checking her tablet. 90% evacuated in 1 hour, 95% in 2 hours. By the time the Valtrix ships appeared on the horizon, only she and the security team remained. "Ma'am, we need to go," said Security Chief Taiyang. "The charges are set?" she asked. "Every building, every resource depot. Remote detonation ready." Hana took one last look at the colony she had managed for 5 years. The gardens she had planted. The school where children learned. the community center where people gathered for festivals. Such a waste, she whispered. They boarded the last shuttle and lifted off. The Valtrix ships landed, soldiers pouring out to claim their prize. They found empty buildings, abandoned streets, silence. Where are they? One soldier asked. The answer came as light. Hana pressed the detonation button from orbit. Every building exploded simultaneously. The blast caught 3 Valtrix transport ships on the ground, consuming them in fire. The colony was gone. The Valtrix had won nothing but ash. In space, Captain Minho's fleet faced the main Valtrix advance, his 20 ships against 50 of theirs. The Valtrix commander sent a message demanding surrender. Minho responded, his voice still kind but somehow different. I'm giving you one chance. Leave now, please. We don't want to do this. The Valtrix opened fire. Human ships scattered, moving with precision. Railguns fired tungsten rods at incredible speed. Missiles launched in coordinated swarms. Energy weapons cut through space. The Valtrix expected panic. They saw calculation. Every human ship moved like part of a dance, covering each other, targeting enemy weak points. When a human ship took critical damage, its crew evacuated in escape pods seconds before the ship exploded. The Valtrix destroyed 5 human ships, but lost 12 of their own. When they tried to capture the escape pods, human rescue ships appeared from nowhere, protected by fighter screens, and retrieved every single survivor. They're not fighting to win, Grethix said, watching the battle data. They're fighting to buy time. Time for what? Volthix demanded. No one had an answer. The first week of war confused the Valtrix at every level. Humans fought with incredible skill but always offered surrender before firing. They evacuated civilians perfectly, but destroyed everything they left behind. They rescued their own people but also rescued Valtrix soldiers from damaged ships. Why do they save our wounded? A Valtrix captain asked after humans rescued 6 of his crew from a destroyed frigate. The human medic, a young woman named Nari, answered while treating a Valtrix soldier's burns. Because that's what we do. We're still trying not to be monsters. The word "still" made the Valtrix soldier shiver. Back at command, Admiral Yuna read the reports. 3 colonies evacuated, 7 major battles fought. Human casualties minimal. Enemy casualties significant but not devastating. They're learning we can fight, General Daehyun said. But they haven't learned what we're really capable of. They still think this is our full strength, Yuna agreed. President Junho's face appeared on screen. The Council has reviewed the situation. The Valtrix have rejected all diplomatic options. They've attacked civilian targets. The vote is unanimous. Yuna closed her eyes briefly. Authorization? Granted. Mercy protocols are now optional. Show them what happens when humans stop holding back. The message went out to every ship, every station, every soldier. Engagement rules updated. You are weapons free. Fight as our ancestors fought. In his quarters, Captain Minho read the message. He looked at a photo on his wall. His family at the beach, smiling and happy. He thought about the Valtrix officer who had laughed when he offered surrender. You had your chance, he said quietly. Across Terran space, something shifted. The war was about to change, and the Valtrix Empire was about to understand their fatal mistake. The change was not immediate. It was subtle, like watching a sleeping tiger open its eyes. Captain Minho's fleet had been conducting careful defensive operations for 2 weeks, always retreating at the right moment, always minimizing casualties, always offering terms. But when the new orders came through, something shifted in how his ships moved. The Valtrix fleet advanced on the outer belt mining stations. Commander Grethix led this attack personally, commanding 30 warships. He expected another fighting retreat, more human politeness, more offers to surrender. Instead, his sensors picked up something odd. The human ships weren't retreating. They were spreading out, forming a pattern he didn't recognize. Captain Minho is attempting communication, his officer reported. Grethix almost laughed. More begging? Open the channel. Minho's face appeared, but something was different. His expression was colder. His smile was gone. Commander Grethix, I'm informing you that you are in a kill zone. Your ships are now surrounded. This is your only warning. Surrender or be destroyed. You're outnumbered 3-1, Grethix said. I know, Minho replied. The transmission ended. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The human ships didn't wait for a response. They attacked with a ferocity that shocked the Vultrix. Fighters poured from carriers like angry wasps. Railgun fire came from 3 directions at once. Missiles didn't just target ships, they targeted specific systems, engines, weapons, life support. The humans weren't trying to be merciful anymore. They were trying to win. Grethix's flagship took 17 hits in 30 seconds. His shields collapsed. His weapons went offline. Emergency systems screamed warnings. Around him, 6 ships exploded. 8 more went dark, drifting. "Retreat," he ordered. Full retreat. The Vultrix fleet broke formation and ran. The humans pursued for exactly 10 minutes, destroying any ship that tried to turn and fight. Then they stopped chasing and returned to defensive positions. Grethix's damaged fleet limped back to the main force. He had lost 13 ships. The humans had lost 0. What happened out there? Vultrix demanded. "They stopped playing with us," Grethix said quietly. "They stopped holding back." On the ground, the war was changing too. The Vultrix had landed forces on a small farming colony called New Jeju. They expected farmers. They found Corporal Jiwan and 200 civilians. The Vultrix moved through the quiet town carefully. Windows were dark. Streets were empty. It felt wrong. Too quiet, one soldier said. The explosion came from everywhere at once. The playground erupted, sending shrapnel in calculated directions. The community center's roof collapsed on soldiers taking cover there. The irrigation system, which had been filled with fuel instead of water, ignited in a massive fireball. Corporal Jiwan watched from a hidden position. Before the war, he had been a schoolteacher. Now he coordinated the defense like a professional soldier. Because every adult human had military training. Every human settlement had emergency protocols. Every friendly farmer knew how to fight. Team 2, they're flanking left, he spoke into his radio. Springtrap 7, more explosions. The Vultrix soldiers, confused and terrified, tried to retreat to their landing ships. They found the landing zone mined. Half their transports exploded before they could take off. "How are farmers doing this?" a Vultrix commander screamed over the radio. The answer was simple. Humans weren't just farmers or teachers or artists. They were all soldiers when they needed to be. They had learned this lesson thousands of years ago. In wars so terrible, they had promised never to fight among themselves again. But they had never forgotten how. Back at Vultrix Command, intelligence officers reviewed battle footage with growing horror. One analyst played a video for Supreme Commander Vultrix. It showed a human medic named Nari treating wounded Vultrix soldiers in a field hospital. "This was taken 2 days ago," the analyst said. "She was kind, gentle, saved 17 enemy lives." The video changed. It showed the same woman now in a fighter cockpit. She flew her ship straight into a Vultrix command carrier and ejected at the last second. The carrier exploded, killing 300 Vultrix officers. "Same person?" Vultrix asked. "Same person. She's already back on duty planning her next strike." Another video showed engineer Suho. Before the war, he had designed water treatment plants. Now he was demonstrating a weapon he called the Swarm. Thousands of micro-drones that could slip through a ship's armor and dismantle it from the inside. "They're not specialized warriors," the analyst said. "They're all warriors. Every single one can switch from building to destroying in seconds." Vultrix watched footage of a human supply ship. The Vultrix had ambushed it, thinking it would be defenseless. Instead, the supply ship had converted its cargo containers into missile batteries. It destroyed 2 attack cruisers before help arrived. "They weaponize everything," Grethix said. "Their food, their tools, their music. We intercepted a broadcast that made our crew violently ill. It was just sound frequencies, but they turned it into a weapon." More reports came in. Humans had seeded the space around their colonies with millions of mines. They had hacked Vultrix communications. They had reverse-engineered captured technology in days and built countermeasures. Worst of all, they escalated. Every time the Vultrix destroyed something human, the humans destroyed something bigger. A colony for a colony, a fleet for a fleet. They didn't get angry. They got even. One captured Vultrix officer was brought before General Daehyun. The alien scales were pale with fear. "Why?" the officer asked. "Your diplomat, Suji, was so kind. Your captain offered us surrender. You seemed so civilized." "What changed?" Daehyun's expression was cold as stone. "We were civilized. We were kind. We gave you every opportunity to walk away. You chose violence. You attacked civilians. You laughed at our mercy." He leaned closer. You mistook our choice for weakness. We chose to be peaceful. We chose to be kind, not because we can't fight, but because we know what happens when we do. You forced us to remember. The Valtrix officer trembled. Your people are devils. No, Daehyun said quietly. We're human, and you're learning what that really means. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council monitored the war with growing alarm. The conflict they had expected to end in days was now in its fourth week. The Valtrix, who had never lost a war, were losing. President Junho sent a message to the council. We did not want this. We begged them to stop. We are not the aggressors, but we will defend ourselves with everything we have. Tell the galaxy, humans don't start fights, but we always finish them. On the Valtrix flagship, Volthix stared at casualty reports. 500 ships damaged or destroyed, 20,000 soldiers dead, 30 colonies abandoned because humans had made them uninhabitable. And the humans? They had lost fewer than 300 ships and even fewer soldiers. Their evacuation protocols were perfect. Their medical care was incredible. They saved their people with the same efficiency they used to kill. They're playing with us, Volthix realized. This still isn't their full strength. Grethix pulled up footage of human warships in formation. They moved like a school of fish, perfectly synchronized. Sir, we've been analyzing their tactics. They're still using what they call restraint protocols. They're still trying not to cause unnecessary casualties. What happens if they stop trying? Volthix asked. No one answered. No one wanted to know. The war was about to enter its next phase. And the Valtrix Empire was beginning to understand. They hadn't attacked sheep. They had attacked wolves who had learned to wear sheep's clothing. 3 weeks into the war, the Valtrix Empire still believed they could win. They had more ships, more soldiers, more weapons. Numbers, they thought, would eventually overcome human cleverness. Supreme Commander Volthix assembled his remaining fleet commanders in a holographic meeting. 50 officers from across the Empire appeared as glowing figures. We have pushed them back to the mid-rim, Volthix said. Yes, we have taken losses, but they cannot hold forever. We continue the advance, and sir, Grethix spoke carefully. Our intelligence suggests the humans are still operating under combat restrictions. If they remove those restrictions, then we'll adapt, Volthix interrupted. They're still just one species. We are an empire. That night, Valtrix Signals Intelligence intercepted a transmission from Admiral Yuna. It was encrypted, but not heavily, almost as if the humans wanted it to be heard. The message was short. Authorization code Omega Black confirmed. All ships, all units. Engagement protocols revised to pre-peace standards. Mercy doctrine suspended. All soldiers are weapons-free. Fight as our ancestors fought. Make them understand. Make them remember. Make them regret. The Valtrix code breakers puzzled over the phrase pre-peace standards. They searched captured human data files but found only vague references. Something about ancient warfare and total war doctrine. Should we be concerned? A junior officer asked. It's probably psychological warfare, Volthix said. Empty threats. He was wrong. Captain Minho received the orders while his fleet patrolled the neutral zone. He read them 3 times, then looked at his bridge crew. These men and women had served with him for years. They had families, dreams. They loved music and art and all the gentle things humanity had built. You heard the orders, he said quietly. Remove all safeties. No more offers of surrender. No more mercy. They wanted war. We'll give them war. His weapons officer, a young man named Suho, hesitated. Sir, this goes against everything I know, Minho said. I know what we're about to become. I know what this will cost us. But they left us no choice. They killed civilians. They laughed at our peace. They thought our kindness was weakness. He activated the ship-wide communication. All hands, this is the captain. For 3 weeks we fought with one hand tied behind our backs. We've offered quarter. We've tried to minimize death. That ends now. We're not going to war. We've been at war. Now we're going to show them what humans really are. The fleet changed formation. Tight defensive groups became aggressive hunter packs. Ships that had been protecting each other now spread out to maximize kill zones. The first Valtrix patrol to encounter the new human tactics was a 12-ship squadron near the asteroid belt. They detected human ships and moved to engage, expecting the usual careful defense. Instead, the humans attacked like a pack of predators. No warnings, no mercy. Fighters swarmed in waves, sacrificing themselves to destroy larger ships. Railgun fire came continuously. Human ships that took critical damage rammed into Valtrix vessels before exploding. The squadron was annihilated in 18 minutes. One damaged Valtrix ship sent a final transmission. They're not human anymore. They're demons. On the ground, the change was even more terrifying. Valtrix soldiers on the colony world of New Sol found themselves hunted, not fought. Hunted. Specialist Taeyang had been a logistics officer. He had spent the first weeks of the war coordinating supplies, making sure everyone had what they needed. Now he was tracking 17 Valtrix soldiers through the burned remains of a residential area. He had spent 3 days preparing the kill zone. Every street corner was measured. Every building was trapped. Every escape route was monitored. He didn't want prisoners. He didn't want survivors. He wanted to send a message. The Valtrix soldiers realized too late they were in a trap. Explosions came from buildings they had already cleared. Fire erupted from sewers. The civilians they thought had fled were actually armed resistance fighters, appearing from hidden positions. Taeyang watched from his command post as his carefully designed plan executed perfectly. It wasn't combat. It was slaughter. "This is who we were," he said to his assistant. "Before we learned better. Before we decided to stop." Across multiple fronts, the Valtrix encountered the same thing. Humans who had been holding back were now unleashed. Every human had studied military history. They knew tactics from thousands of years of warfare. They knew how to break an enemy's will. More terrifying, they seemed to enjoy it. Valtrix soldiers intercepted human communications and heard them singing war songs. Old songs from Earth, from times when humans fought each other. Songs about glory and death and victory. One Valtrix intelligence officer played a recording for Commander Grethix. It was a human strike team boarding a Valtrix cruiser. They were singing as they fought. "They're happy," the officer whispered. "They're happy to be fighting." "They're not happy," Grethix said, understanding something terrible. "They're relieved. They've been holding back for so long, trying to be civilized. We gave them permission to stop pretending." Reports flooded Valtrix command. A human engineering team had built a weapon that turned asteroids into kinetic missiles. Another team had developed nanobots that ate through ship armor. A third had weaponized solar radiation. "They're innovating during the war," an analyst reported. "Every day they invent new ways to kill us." Supreme Commander Volthix read casualty reports with shaking hands. In 3 days, the Valtrix had lost more ships than in the previous 3 weeks. Entire battle groups were vanishing. Planetary garrisons were found dead without a single shot fired. Poison gas, biological agents, or sometimes just horror. Humans had surrounded them and played recordings of what had happened to other Valtrix units. "How many humans have we killed?" Volthix asked. "This week? Maybe 300. We've lost thousands." "Yes, sir." A message arrived from General Daehyun. It wasn't encrypted. The humans wanted everyone to hear it. "To the Valtrix Empire. You attacked us believing we were weak. You saw our art, our culture, our civilization, and thought these things made us soft. You were wrong. We built our civilization on mountains of bones. We crawled out of caves and killed our way to the top of our world's food chain. We fought wars that killed millions. We built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We learned to be kind not because we were weak, but because we were too strong. We made a choice, be better. But you wouldn't let us. You forced us to remember what we really are, and now you're learning what predators look like when they stop pretending to be prey." The message ended with a single sentence. "You will regret waking the sleeping tiger." In his private quarters, Captain Minho looked at himself in the mirror. He had laughed 3 times today. Once when his fighters destroyed a Valtrix carrier. Once when his tactical plan worked perfectly. Once when an enemy commander begged for mercy and he said no. He hated what he was becoming. But he was good at it. All humans were. They had just forgotten for a while. Across human space, the transformation was complete. Peaceful scientists became weapon designers. Gentle teachers became tactical planners. Artists designed camouflage patterns. Musicians analyzed enemy communication frequencies, and it all worked. Humanity had spent 10,000 years learning to kill, and only the last few hundred learning to stop. The skills hadn't vanished. They had just been sleeping. Now they were awake. The Valtrix Empire finally understood their mistake. They hadn't attacked a peaceful species. They had attacked a species that had chosen peace after learning every possible way to make war. And those weapons, those skills, that terrible knowledge, it had all been waiting for someone foolish enough to make humanity remember. The war entered its 6th week, and the Valtrix Empire was dying. It started with supply lines. Specialist Taeyang, the quiet man who had once managed water treatment systems, now commanded something the humans called Operation Stranglehold. He studied Valtrix logistics for 2 days, found their main supply route, and destroyed it with brutal efficiency. 70,000 automated mines, each with basic artificial intelligence, each able to hunt. The Valtrix supply fleet of 200 ships entered the corridor. Only 4 ships escaped. The rest were torn apart by silent metal hunters that chased them through space. Taeyang watched the operation succeed from his command center. He felt nothing. No joy, no guilt, just the satisfaction of a job done perfectly. Supply fleet destroyed, he reported to Admiral Yuna. Valtrix forces will run out of ammunition in 3 weeks, food in 5. Good, Yuna said. Move to the secondary targets. On another front, Lieutenant Nari prepared for her 5th strike mission. Before the war, she had taught children. She had read them stories and helped them learn to write. Now she piloted a stealth ship loaded with enough explosives to crack a moon. Her target was a Valtrix command station orbiting their primary military academy. Thousands of young soldiers in training, command officers, strategic planners. This is going to kill a lot of them, her co-pilot said. Yes, Nari replied. She didn't elaborate. She had made peace with what she had become, a weapon aimed by necessity. The stealth ship approached the station invisible to sensors. Nari flew it perfectly, using the station's own gravity well to hide her approach. When she was close enough, she activated the station's emergency evacuation alarms, a hack that gave the residents 12 minutes to escape. You gave them a warning? Her co-pilot asked, confused. We're not monsters, Nari said. We're just not nice anymore. There's a difference. 11 minutes later, with most of the station evacuated, she detonated the charges. The command station exploded. The academy below lost all orbital support. The Valtrix military training program was set back years. Nari escaped in the chaos, already planning her next target. The Valtrix Supreme Council watched their empire crumble on tactical displays. Red zones spread across the map like disease. Supply lines cut, colonies under siege, fleets scattered or destroyed. How did this happen? Counselor Vexus demanded. We outnumbered them 10-1. Supreme Commander Volthix, who now looked years older, pulled up comparative data. We outnumber their military forces. But we're not fighting their military. We're fighting their entire species, he showed them footage. Human cargo ships converted to missile platforms, civilian transports carrying Marines, research stations that turned into forward bases overnight, children building drones in school workshops. Every human is a soldier, Volthix said. Every human habitat is a fortress. Every human ship is a potential weapon. They don't have a military. They have an armed population. What about their casualties? Vexus asked. 3%, Grethix reported. 3% losses across all forces. They evacuate wounded instantly. Their medical technology keeps soldiers alive through injuries that would kill us. They rescue everyone. And those who survive go right back to fighting. An intelligence report came in. Grethix read it and went pale. What? Volthix demanded. Sir, we've been analyzing their combat performance, compared to their historical records. The records we thought were fake, and they're still holding back. Even now, with Mercy protocols suspended, they're operating at approximately 30% of their historical combat capability. The room went silent. That's impossible, Vexus said. Grethix showed them data. In their World War II, they built 50,000 aircraft in 1 year. Right now, they're producing 5,000. They're capable of so much more. They're fighting us with peacetime industry barely converted to wartime production. Volthix felt cold. They're still not trying their hardest? No, sir. This is them being restrained. Imagine if they went to full war production. Full mobilization, if they stopped caring about rules and ethics entirely. The council chamber was silent. Meanwhile, the humans continued their advance. General Daehyun commanded the ground forces with precise brutality. He had studied warfare from every era of human history. He knew Sun Tzu and Clausewitz. He understood Napoleon and Patton. He had learned from Sherman and Zhukov. Now he applied those lessons. cut supply lines, destroy morale, make the enemy fear every shadow. Don't just defeat them, make them never want to fight again. A Valtrix commander surrendered his garrison after human forces surrounded them. He was brought before Daehyun. "Your General Daehyun," the Valtrix commander said. "I've read about you. Before the war, you were a teacher. Philosophy. That's correct. How does a philosophy teacher become this?" The Valtrix gestured at the destruction around them. Daehyun was quiet for a moment. "I taught philosophy because I understood violence. I spent years studying why humans hurt each other, trying to find ways to make us stop. But to understand peace, I had to understand war. And I understood it very well." He looked at the prisoner. "You attacked us thinking philosophy teachers and artists and parents couldn't fight. You forgot that humans have spent our entire history learning to kill efficiently. We just spent the last few centuries trying not to. You made us remember." The Valtrix shivered. Human innovation continued. Engineer Suho, who had once designed peaceful water systems, now created something he called the Cascade. Tiny robots, smaller than insects, that could infiltrate a ship and dismantle it piece by piece. Silent. Unstoppable, terrifying. "It's beautiful," he said, watching his creation work on a test ship. "From an engineering perspective, it's beautiful." His assistant looked sick. "It's killing people." "Yes," Suho agreed. "But they're killing people who attacked us, who laughed at our peace, who thought we were weak." He paused. "I don't enjoy this, but I'm good at it. We're all good at it." That's the scary part. The Galactic Council watched the war with horror. The species they had thought of as cute and harmless was dismantling a galactic empire with surgical precision. And they weren't even trying hard. President Junho sent another message to the galaxy. "We warned them. We begged them. We explained that our kindness was a choice, not a limitation. They chose to test us. Now they're learning what happens when peaceful people are forced to fight." He continued. "Let this be a lesson to the galaxy. Humans became civilized by choice. We learned to be kind because we knew the alternative. We built art and music and culture on top of millions of years of survival instinct. We're predators who learned to farm, warriors who learned to heal. We chose peace because we're good at war." The message ended with a warning. "Don't mistake our choice for inability. Don't confuse our kindness with weakness. We are human. And that means we remember how to be monsters when we must." On the Valtrix homeworld, civilians watched news reports with growing fear. Their mighty empire was losing. The cute aliens with their pets and their music were destroying them. "How can they do this?" a young Valtrix asked his parent. "Because we were fools," the parent replied. "We saw their civilization and forgot that civilization is what predators build when they get tired of eating each other." Back in Terran space, Admiral Yuna reviewed casualty reports. Human losses remained minimal. Valtrix losses were catastrophic. The math was simple. Humans were better at war because they had practiced it longer, learned from it harder, and then chosen to stop. But the skills remained. How much longer? She asked General Daehyun. Until they surrender? Maybe 2 weeks? They're breaking. And if they don't surrender? Daehyun's expression was grim. Then we finish what they started, completely. The war was reaching its conclusion. The Valtrix Empire had learned too late that attacking the Terran realm was a fatal mistake. They had seen humans as cute, as soft, as weak. They hadn't understood until too late cute was camouflage. Kindness was a choice. And underneath the civilization, humanity was still what it had always been, survivors. The Terran fleet arrived at the edge of the Valtrix home system 8 weeks after the war began. 200 human warships scarred from battle but still strong. Behind them, another 300 ships carried support supplies and reinforcements. The Valtrix defenders numbered over 400 ships. Their home system, their final stand, everything they had left. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of her flagship, now renamed the Last Warning. She had renamed it after the first battle, a reminder of what the Valtrix had ignored. "Open a channel to their fleet," she ordered. "All frequencies. I want every ship, every station, every Valtrix in this system to hear this." Her face appeared on screens across the system. She looked tired, sad, but her voice was steady. "I am Admiral Yuna of the Terran realm. 8 weeks ago, we warned you. We begged you. We told you that attacking us was a mistake. You laughed. You thought we were weak because we were kind. You thought our civilization made us soft." She paused. You were wrong. We became civilized by choice, not by nature. We chose to be kind because we knew what the alternative was. We had spent 10,000 years learning every way to hurt each other. We finally learned to stop. And you made us remember. The system was silent. Every Valtrix listened. This is your final warning. Surrender now. Unconditional surrender. Or we will show you what unrestrained humanity looks like. We have been holding back. Even now, with your empire crumbling, we have been gentle. We evacuate your wounded. We follow rules of war. We try to minimize death. Her expression hardened. But we can stop. We can become what our ancestors were. Pure survival, pure violence, pure destruction. You have 1 hour to decide. The transmission ended. On the Valtrix command ship, Supreme Commander Volthix sat in his chair staring at empty space. Around him, his officers waited for orders. She's bluffing, Counselor Vexus said via hologram from the planet below. They're already fighting at full strength. This is psychological warfare. Grethix shook his head. No, sir. We've analyzed their industrial capacity. They could build 5 times more ships than they have. Their population is barely mobilized. Most humans are still living normal lives, going to work, raising children. If they went to total war, true total war like their history describes, we would face millions of soldiers, thousands of ships. That's impossible, Vexus insisted. It's human, Grethix said quietly. That's what we never understood. They're capable of incredible violence. They just choose not to be violent. We force them to choose differently. Volthix looked at his officers. Young scales, old scales, all looking to him for answers. What are our chances if we fight? Honestly? Near zero, Grethix said. They control space around our homeworld. They could bombard us from orbit. They could drop kinetic weapons. They could use biological agents, chemical weapons, radiation. They could make our world uninhabitable. Will they? That's the question. Will they commit genocide? Everything we know about them says no. They still follow rules. They still have ethics. Grethix paused. But we've pushed them very far. We attacked first. We refused peace. We laughed at their warnings. At some point, even the most ethical species might decide that survival matters more than morality. The hour ticked away. 30 minutes, 2010. I need a decision, Volthix said to the council hologram. Vexus looked around at the other counselors. All of them showed fear. Their empire was broken. Their fleets destroyed. Their colonies lost. And now the humans waited at their doorstep with weapons that could end everything. We fought for survival, Vexus said. We thought they were weak prey. We were wrong. We surrender. Volthix closed his eyes briefly. Then he opened a channel to the human fleet. Admiral Yuna, this is Supreme Commander Volthix. The Valtrix Empire surrenders unconditionally. We accept all terms. We ask only that you spare our civilians. There was a pause. Then Yuna's voice gentle again. We accept your surrender. Your civilians were never in danger. We don't make war on children. Stand down all weapons. Prepare to receive our boarding parties. They will be respectful. Follow their instructions and no one else will die today. The Valtrix fleet powered down weapons. Shields dropped. Ships went into standby mode. It was over. Human Marines boarded the command ship. Volthix expected conquerors. Instead, he found professional soldiers who treated the Valtrix with firm respect. No torture. No humiliation. Just efficient disarmament. A young human captain introduced as Captain Minho oversaw the process. Volthix recognized him from early battle footage, the officer who had offered terms. You tried to warn us, Volthix said. Multiple times? Yes, Minho replied. Why did you try so hard? Why not just attack? Minho looked at the Valtrix commander with sad eyes. Because we knew what would happen. We knew we would win. We knew what we would have to become to do it. We didn't want to go back to being what we were. We spent so long learning to be better. And now we have to remember how to trust ourselves again, how to be kind again. It's harder the second time. Every time we have to fight, it gets a little harder to stop. On the planet below, human forces landed at government centers. General Daehyun met with the Valtrix civilian leadership. They expected occupation, slavery, revenge. We're not here to occupy, Daehyun said. We're here to ensure you can't attack anyone again. Your military will be dismantled. Your war industry will be converted to peaceful production. But your people will be free. We'll help you rebuild. We'll teach you what we learned. That strength without wisdom is just violence waiting to happen. A Valtrix civilian leader, an older female named Silith, spoke up. Why? We attacked you. We killed your people. Why show mercy now? Daehyun was quiet for a moment. Because that's the point. We could exterminate you. We have the weapons. We have the capability. But then what? We'd become monsters again. We'd prove that might makes right. We'd undo everything we've built. He continued. We fought you because we had to. We won because we're good at war. But we're showing mercy because that's who we choose to be. Not because you deserve it. Because we deserve to remain civilized. Back in space, Admiral Yuna received reports from across the Valtrix system. Surrender was proceeding smoothly. Minimal resistance. The Valtrix military was broken not just physically but psychologically. They're terrified of us, her second officer reported. Good, Yuna said. Fear will keep them from trying again. But we also need to show them we're not devils. We're just people who defended themselves. A message came from Earth. President Junho's face appeared on screen. Admiral, the Council has voted. We're sending humanitarian aid to the Valtrix homeworld. Food, medicine, construction materials. We'll help them rebuild. Yuna smiled for the first time in weeks. That's good. That's who we need to be. How are you holding up? Hunyo asked quietly. I'm tired, Yuna admitted. We all are. We did what we had to do, but it cost us. Not in lives, we didn't lose many. But in innocence. We remembered what we're capable of. That knowledge doesn't go away. No, Junho agreed. But it also reminds us why we chose peace in the first place. Come home, Admiral. The war is over. The human fleet began to organize occupation and reconstruction operations. It was strange, the conquerors bringing food and medicine. Victors helping rebuild what they had destroyed. But that was humanity. Capable of terrible violence. Capable of incredible kindness. The trick was choosing which one to be. And today humanity chose kindness. On the Valtrix homeworld, young students would grow up learning about the war. About the species that looked cute and soft and kind. About the fatal mistake of confusing civilization with weakness. They would learn a new phrase, one that would spread throughout the galaxy. Never attack the Terran realm. They'll warn you. They'll beg you. They'll offer peace. And if you're fool enough to refuse, they'll show you why they stopped being predators by choice, not by necessity. The war was over. The Valtrix Empire was broken. But the Valtrix people would survive, because humanity had remembered how to be monsters. But they had chosen once again to be something better. 6 months after the war ended, Ambassador Hyun stood in the Galactic Council chambers once again. The room looked the same as it had a year ago, but everything felt different. The other delegates watched him carefully now. No one laughed. No one whispered about how cute humans were. They had all seen the war footage. They knew what humanity was capable of. Hyun walked to the center stage, the same place he had stood when introducing humanity to the galaxy. He wore the same simple black suit. He still smiled, but now that smile carried weight. Honored council members, he began. The Terran realm comes before you today to formalize peace agreements and discuss reconstruction efforts in Valtrix space. Representative Kylora of the Peaceful Unified Clans raised a tentacle. Ambassador Hyun, before we proceed, I must ask a question on behalf of many species here. We have all seen what your people did to the Valtrix military. We have seen your capabilities. Yet you stopped when they surrendered. You are helping them rebuild. Why? Hyun's expression became serious. That question has a simple answer and a complicated truth. The simple answer because that's who we are. The complicated truth because we had to remember who we want to be. He gestured to a screen behind him. Images appeared, human soldiers, human ships, human weapons. Then the images changed to human doctors treating Valtrix wounded, human engineers rebuilding Valtrix infrastructure, human teachers helping Valtrix children return to school. We are all of these things, Hyun said. Warriors and healers. Destroyers and builders. This is not unique to humans. Most species that reach the stars carry similar dualities. The difference is that we're honest about ours. Captain Minho, now promoted to Admiral Minho, stood beside Hyun. He wore his dress uniform, medals on his chest. Each medal represented a battle. Each battle represented a choice to remember violence. We didn't want this war, Minho said. We begged the Valtrix to reconsider. We offered peace at every opportunity. But they saw our kindness and thought it was weakness. They saw our civilization and forgot that civilization is what predators build when they decide to stop hunting each other. He paused. We could have destroyed them completely. We had the weapons. We had the capability. Some of our people wanted to, Revenge for the attacks, for the deaths, for being forced to become what we used to be. But we chose differently. A delegate from the Krovan Federation, a species known for their military prowess, spoke up. Your restraint is admirable, Admiral. But I must ask, why did you hold back even during the war? Our analysts say you fought at only 30% of your historical capacity. Why? Minho looked at Hyun, who nodded for him to answer honestly. Because we were afraid, Minho said. Not afraid of losing, we knew we would win. Afraid of what we would become if we didn't hold back. Afraid that if we went to total war, if we unleashed everything we're capable of, we might not be able to stop. That we might remember too well what we used to be. The chamber was silent. Our history is written in blood, Minho continued. We fought wars that killed millions. We built weapons that could destroy our entire world. We did terrible things to each other. It took us thousands of years to learn to stop, to choose peace, to build something better than survival. He looked around the chamber. The Valtrix forced us to remember those skills. And yes, it was terrifying how easily they came back. How quickly we went from artists and teachers to soldiers and strategists. That's the scary part. We didn't have to relearn how to fight. We just had to stop pretending we had forgotten. General Daehyun stepped forward. The old warrior looked tired but peaceful. I taught philosophy before the war. I studied why humans hurt each other and how we might stop. I spent decades trying to understand peace. But to understand peace, I had to understand violence. And when the war came, that knowledge became useful again. I knew Sun Tzu and Clausewitz. I knew tactics and strategy. I knew how to break an enemy's will. He paused. Using that knowledge felt like putting on old clothes you thought you had thrown away. They still fit perfectly. That's what frightened us most. Not that we could fight, but that we were still so good at it. Counselor Silith of the Valtrix, now part of their new democratic government, spoke via hologram. The Galactic Council should know the humans showed us incredible mercy. They helped us rebuild. They treated our wounded. They fed our hungry. They could have enslaved us or exterminated us. Instead, they made us partners in peace, she continued, her voice thick with emotion. We were fools. We saw their kindness and thought it was weakness. We saw their civilization and forgot that civilizations are built on survival instincts refined over millions of years. We attacked them thinking they were prey. We learned they were predators who had chosen to stop hunting. Young diplomatic attaché Inha stood near the back watching the proceedings. She had graduated from university just before the war. She had studied art history and music theory. During the war, she had coordinated drone strikes. Now she was back to studying art. But she remembered. They all remembered. Ambassador Hyun addressed the council again. We come before you today to make something clear. Humanity wants peace. We want trade, friendship, cooperation. We want to learn from you and share what we know. We want to explore the galaxy together. His expression hardened slightly. But we also want the galaxy to understand our choice for peace is just that, a choice. Not inability, not weakness. We chose to put away our weapons and build art. We chose to study music instead of warfare. We chose kindness over conquest. But those weapons are not gone. That knowledge is not forgotten. And if someone attacks us, attacks our friends, threatens what we've built, we will choose differently. The chamber remained silent. Every delegate understood the message. President Junho appeared via hologram from Earth. The Terran realm proposes a new understanding with the Galactic Council. We will share our defensive technology with any species that requests it. We will help train defense forces. We will stand with any peaceful species that faces aggression. He looked around the chamber. We don't want an empire. We don't want conquest. We want a galaxy where species can choose to be civilized without fear of those who mistake that choice for weakness. The vote was called. The Council would accept humanity's terms. They would formalize peace. They would establish trade agreements and defense pacts. Several smaller species, those who had feared larger predators, requested alliance with Terra. The humans agreed to all of them. As the session ended, Representative Kylora approached Hyun privately. Ambassador, may I ask you something personal? Of course. Are you proud of what your species did? Defeating the Valtrix so completely? Hyun was quiet for a long moment. No, we're not proud. We're relieved it's over. We're grateful we didn't have to go further. We're hopeful we won't have to do it again. He paused. But we're also confident. Confident that if we must fight again, we can. And that confidence is what allows us to truly choose peace. Across the galaxy, the story of humanity spread. The cute species with their pets and music and art. The kind diplomats who bowed and smiled. The civilization that seemed so soft until they weren't. Spacefaring species began teaching their young about the Terran realm, about the fatal mistake of the Valtrix Empire, about the importance of never confusing civilization with domestication. A new phrase entered galactic language, cute until they're not. It became a warning. A reminder, a piece of wisdom passed from old to young. Never attack the Terran realm, parents would tell their children. They'll warn you with gentle voices. They'll offer peace with smiling faces. They'll plead with you to stop. And if you're foolish enough to continue, they'll show you why they chose to stop being predators. Not because they couldn't hunt anymore, but because they became too good at it. On Earth, life returned to normal. People went back to their jobs, their hobbies, their families. Engineers designed peaceful infrastructure. Teachers educated children. Artists created beauty, but in quiet moments they remembered. They remembered how quickly they had transformed, how easily the old skills had returned, how naturally they had become what they used to be. Admiral Minho retired from active service and returned to teaching. He taught strategy at the military academy, but also philosophy. Never forget what we're capable of, he would tell students, but also never forget why we chose to be something better. Admiral Yuna wrote a memoir about the war. The title was simple, The Last Warning. In it she wrote, "We are not angels. We are not devils. We are human, and being human means carrying both the capacity for great kindness and great violence. The measure of our character is which one we choose when we have the power to choose either." General Daehyun returned to teaching philosophy. His first lecture to a new class of students addressed a question someone asked, "Are humans naturally violent or naturally peaceful?" His answer, "We are naturally survivors. Everything else is choice. We survived by being the most dangerous predators on our world. Then we survived by learning to cooperate instead of compete. Then we survived by building civilizations. Then we survived by defending those civilizations. We are what survival requires us to be. And right now, survival requires us to be kind, wise, and strong enough to defend that kindness." The Galactic Council chamber displayed a memorial now. It listed all species who had died in conflicts across the galaxy.